Today, I'm just going to talk briefly about AI and innovation so that we all move together and try to understand what is this animal called AI and why should we be scared or should be excited about AI and what it contributes to the development of Africa at large as a result of its benefits. So briefly, I'm going to do my session a bit interactive and I'm going to be asking you questions if we go through so that we also leverage on each other's experience and knowledge around the subject that we are talking about. So I'm just going to hear from you guys. What comes to mind when you hear the word artificial intelligence or AI? Yes, sir.
Computers that think like people.
Right, computers that think like people, right? Good, thank you. What's your name, sir? Munyarat. So Munyarat thinks it's computers that think like people. Someone else? Yes, sir, over there.
ChatGPT and Gemini.
ChatGPT and Gemini, right? Lovely, lovely. What's your name, sir? Sorry. Yep.
Next. My name is Jeffrey Ncube.
Right, Jeffrey, I think I know you. Right, thank you, Jeffrey. So Jeffrey says artificial intelligence is ChatGPT and Gemini. Good, madam?
Prompt engineering.
Yes?
Prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering. What's your name? Dr. Maroreke. Thank you. Someone else with a different one. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. Yes, sir. Over here.
Right. I would say it's an artificial program that is meant to replace our brains as human beings.
Right? Right? An artificial program that is made to replace us. Right? So that's someone who's thinking that, how do you adopt AI when it's supposed to replace us? Huh? Now we get the resistance and the adoption becomes slower and slower. But you want to change that narrative. You want to change that mindset by understanding basically what simply AI is going to give us and how should we govern it so that it gives us the good results that we want and it helps us grow the market and the African market as large. So before we talk about AI, there's an animal that you also used to talk about, which was innovation. At some point, everyone was saying, I'm coming up with an innovative idea. We are so innovative at our organization. We are disrupting the market with our innovation. I'll ask again, what is innovation? What comes to mind when you hear the word innovation? Innovation, yes, sir.
Social impact.
Social impact, right? Good. He says innovation and social impact. Munya?
New ways of doing.
New ways of doing things, right? New ways of doing things. Someone else with a different one. Innovation. Because AI is a child of innovation, right? So when I move from innovation and then I'll talk about AI afterwards. But before I get into AI, I'll talk about innovation and how AI was born from innovation. So in simple terms, from Winfield, we say that innovation is a product, a process, or a model that is novel or that is useful, right? So that's innovation. Those who went to primary school, what does the word novel mean? Those who went to private schools, novel. Novel. Did you Google first? Right? You need to talk to me. Something new, something that is original, right? That's innovation. So every time you say you're coming up with an innovative idea, you have to tell us whether it's novel or it's what? It's useful. When I say useful, it has to be useful to the end user. People need to get benefit of the innovation that you have given us. If people don't adopt your innovation, it means they are not finding the usefulness. You are not solving any problem. You are not giving us any solutions. So you need to come up with something that is new, original, but it also solves a big challenge that we are facing in this country. So there are three types of innovation. It's either it's sustaining or incremental innovation. Here is where we spend most of our time, which is more of continuous improvement, where we improve our processes, where we improve our products so that we deliver the service better. And then there's an animal called disruptive innovation, which is where we need to spend our times yet, because we want to disrupt the market. We want to disrupt Africa so that we come up with solutions that solve African problems. So disruptive innovation creates a totally new market that no longer existed in the past. right? So sustaining, you're still serving the same people that you are serving, but in just a better way, in a more efficient way, or in a cheaper way. But disruptive, you are creating a new market that didn't exist. And I want you to actually understand those two things so that when you sit in the boardroom, next room, in your offices, you tell people that you are coming up with an innovative product, which is disruptive, you're actually changing the market or the dynamics of the market. I think an example of that is your EcoCash. When EcoCash was launched, it disrupted the whole market. The banking industry, the TNs of this world, they know what they did when EcoCash came into life. So disruption changes the dynamic of the market and gives us value towards that. Good. Unfortunately, innovation moves at a faster pace than the laws that we have in this country. And we should not slow down because we are waiting for the law to accept our innovation. I have a few examples of where innovation outpaced the laws of Zimbabwe. When people wanted to introduce something new, and they actually had to jump the law, to jump the regulations, so that they launch whatever it is that they wanted to launch. My group CEO always mentioned that innovation has always moved faster than regulation. In Africa, we see it every day. Ideas are born out of necessity, creativity, and resilience. It's often ahead of the systems meant to govern them. All right? Who here remembers a product called Inbox? Right? All of us have heard about Inbox or seen Inbox, right? When Inbox was launched, what was it? What was Inbox when it was launched? Yes, sir.
I think it was basically application for collecting change.
Right. It started as an application for collecting change. You leave your 50 cents, we keep it for you. At some point, it evolved to become what? It evolved to become what? A wallet. And when it was launched, we said, no, we just wanted to pay and keep our change. And later on, he said, I want to send my change to my grandmother who's in Mashingo. Right? Now money is what? Is transferring. Until the regulator says, hey, hold on. Let's pause this Inbox. We don't understand. We don't understand what's happening now. Are you remitting? Are you transferring money? Right? So I'm trying to say that the laws would then stop you, but that doesn't make you stop thinking and evolving in the services that you're offering. The government would then sit down and say, so how do we regulate this animal that has been created by Inbox, right? And then they were paused. When the government knew how to regulate, and they said, now you are good to go, guys. You can proceed with the what? With your service. Now they even launched a MasterCard recently. Now they have a MasterCard and they're transferring money and all those things because the government is now caught up to the what? To the rules and the regulations that are coming through. Another example of where innovation surpassed the law is my favorite one, which was by Lafarge Holcim. So Lafarge wanted to launch 3D house printing in Zimbabwe. And it was in 2019, 2020, thereabout. And they wanted to launch 3D house of printing, which would take about 8 to 12 hours. And it was so cheaper than normal building of houses. And what do you think the Council of Zimbabwe said to that idea that now we can build houses? We can print houses actually without needing your builders, your people, all these people. We can just print it. 8 hours. People have already moved out to that house. What do you think the council said? What did the council say? The Harare City Council. What did they say? Yes, Doc?
We have no bylaws.
We have no bylaws to govern this thing. What do you mean when you say that you are going to build a house in 8 hours? It didn't make sense. They were trying to govern 3D house printing with the bylaws from 1950-something that were set by Sisu John Rhodes in his time to govern a 21st century technology, right? So they went back and forth trying to say, let's now come together and build bylaws that govern what? The innovation that we want to launch. As a result, it took long. Until Lafarge says, hey, Zimbabwe, we're tired of your stories because your back and forth is what? It's taking too much time. Let's go to Malawi and launch this product. And Malawi was the beneficiary of that 3D house of printing. So sometimes the law kind of slows us down, but we have to continue to innovate beyond the law. Otherwise, we are saying our government should be smarter than us by creating laws that will govern future things that we are going to think about. So think about it and say, so what do I need to do that can then help the nation, and then we can build systems and structures that can help govern it so that the innovation is what is impactful to what you want to achieve. Good. I think these are the things I talked about. I think recently you saw an online doctor platform that was launched. And Doc, I'm not sure if you are happy or not happy with that platform. What are your thoughts on that? You are indifferent, right? What are your thoughts? Right? It's progressive, right? Now we are saying our doctors can now service all markets. Our doctor in Harare, our doc here can go to a room and do a locum service to Simba district, right? But some people are still struggling to accept that. How is it possible for this innovation to come to life? Because we want to touch and feel the doctor. We want to be to have a proper conversation in person. So sometimes innovation does that, and people get stuck on the nitty-gritties, on the processes, because they want to hold on to power or to money that is associated with what? With the service. So now, the artificial intelligence entered into place. It's an extension of innovation. And I want to demystify what AI is in simple terms. Artificial intelligence is about what Munya said. It's about data, right? Artificial intelligence relies on data, right? It's the data and it's the algorithms or the rules that are created by human beings to say, with this data that I have given you, this is the results or the solutions that I want. Okay? And then finally, AI relies on human beings. As much as you think you are going to be replaced, you set the rules for the artificial intelligence to give you the solutions, to give you the products that you want. You need a human in present so that they can govern the what? The artificial intelligence. So your jobs are still safe. At least if you are good at Excel. If you are still struggling with Excel, don't worry about AI. Because AI will not get into that space. So algorithms, data, and the human being are what makes artificial intelligence work. There's machine learning, like what he said, Munya, that helps to elevate and help us to come up with the solutions towards the artificial intelligence. Recently, I don't know if you saw the news, Mr. Trevor Ncube launched that he's going to spend $720 million of setting up artificial intelligence platforms in South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, and Morocco, so that we can build AI that is solving African problems. We cannot inherit AI from the third world countries because it's linked to their problems, and it will solve their challenges. We have our own challenges as Africans, and we need to use that information to generate solutions based on our challenges. So Mr. Trevor Ncube is committed $720 million, almost $1 billion. And I saw on social media there are people saying, why not Zimbabwe? Why would you invest in South Africa? Why not Zimbabwe? Why not come home? Why not Zimbabwe? Why not Zimbabwe? Yes, sir.
Number one, electricity.
Number one is we don't have electricity. Right, so we need power to support the processors that NVIDIA is going to provide, right? So he thinks it's an issue of power, even though we have solar, but he thinks it's power. Someone else, why do you think Zimbabwe was left out? Yes, sir.
Maybe we don't have necessary policies.
Right? We don't have necessary policies to accept that. We are still trying to figure out what is going on with artificial intelligence. Yes, ma'am?
I also think it goes back to past experience. We had another great creative idea, disruptive to the market. The amount of time it took for him to be regulated is also the same reason that he's running away with. I think,
right,
to the same
right,
the laws, the regulation.
Good. Right. Good. I love it. So the adoption and the time it takes for people to adopt it might discourage you from launching. Yes, ma'am.
I agree with all the speakers. He is Zimbabwean,
yes,
but he's also African.
Thank you.
So he's chosen African country.
right? He's African. He's chosen African countries. I love that. Thank you. And he has spread it across, right? He has gone south, west, east, and tried to balance those dynamics so that each and every region is what is represented. Good. I love that, Mr. Munya.
I don't know if the ban is still in place, but I remember the Biden administration restricting NVIDIA GPUs to be provided.
Right. So it was around sanctions that also affected them from coming to launch here in Zimbabwe. Good. Anyone else with a different one? Let's move. Right, good. So all those answers, they are speculation until Mr. Trevor invites Mr. Strife on in conversations with Trevor, and then we can find out some of the reasons why he chose those countries. But I still like to believe what she said, that he's African and he was looking how can he balance, the platform so that they can support all the regions, because he wants Africa at large to benefit from these AI solutions and these processors so that we get the solutions that helps us to achieve that. So AI comes both on the positive side and at the bad side. The positive sides are what we see every day. Some of us don't remember how to reply an email. Right now, we don't even remember how to reply an email. You are just taking that straight email and put it in ChatGPT and tell it what? Respond. Respond as what? Respond as me, right? So people are becoming lazy, and they even say that most innovation comes from people who are trying to get shortcuts to reduce cost, and they are lazy. And naturally, as human beings, we like to take the most efficient route that is possible in everything that we do. So these are some of the positive sides of AI which we can benefit. One of them is financial inclusion through artificial intelligence, healthcare innovation, which is what we talked about earlier on, agriculture, innovation around how to deliver and make the solutions good for the farmers and for the animals. I think those are some of the positive ones. And then finally, on the dark side, why do you think AI is negative? What's negative about AI besides you thinking that it's going to take your job? What else? Right, Taku?
I think there's a high chance that AI can be used to affect us as people in terms of data leakage. That thing, I don't trust it myself. It might be spying on me. Because if I open maybe an application such as Twitter, Instagram, one time when I like one picture, all of a sudden 10 pictures that are like that from over. So how safe is my data? How safe is my information?
All right. Right, so you think your personal information is safe because the algorithms that help, they think they are helping you to give you the things that you are interested. You have looked for a car. We'll give you more cars so that you don't spend too much time typing that I'm looking for this car, right? So he says personal information is at risk. What else is bad about yes, sir? That could be negative.
Hi, my name is Nigel.
Hi.
I think for me, I liked how you talked about there's the human element
Yes.
when you're using AI. That also then governs the idea of ethical use of AI.
Right.
So then, you're not really sure. The AI can't decide if this is right or wrong. It also brings up question that who decides what's right, what's wrong when it comes to using AI. That's the biggest issue.
Right. So who decides what's ethical and what's not? Who decides what's right and wrong? I think that's the biggest challenge we have is we try to utilize and adopt artificial intelligence. Yes, ma'am.
I think the other negative side is wasting time because we now get to meet people online, have a whole conversation, we spend months meet a potential partner or client, and all the time you're talking to AI. When you finally get
Did you hear that? And wasting your time talking to chat box when you think you're talking to a human being, right? And then when you get there, yes,
ideas,
right.
get to meet in person or have a Zoom meeting. There's no deal.
Right? Time has been wasted. I love that. Thank you. My TN people, did you hear that? They don't want chat box. They want to talk to you guys, 1v1, right? Good. Another negative aspect of artificial intelligence? Yes, let's talk.
Maybe not necessarily negative, but it's a reality. I've noticed that in AI, it's garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
If you're not intelligent, you're less intelligent.
Spoken like a doctor, right? Garbage in, garbage out. What you give it is what it gives you back, right? No matter how smart you are or how smart you are not, you still be poor with what? With artificial intelligence if you don't use it at the right level. Good. Any other negatives on artificial intelligence? I think you can then now show if there's something that we missed. I think we talked about data breaches through him. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have right now, where people are putting confidential information, confidential files. A whole strategy for the company is put in there when someone is trying to look for answers. So the biggest breach is you, the individual who's using your what? Your chat GPT and all those things. And you have to be conscious about what you are giving it. Because at one point, I'm sure if you ask it to look for that data in a different space, you would then know a lot more that you think you're just feeding it and it's keeping that data for its personal use. Deepfakes have come and they've affected a lot of people, especially in the politics space, where people try to fabricate videos, audios, trying to showcase the negative part of you to ruin your reputation or your personality through deepfakes by creating those things. So AI can be used on the negative aspect if it's not managed properly, which also affects the copyright issues around what information you're using and modifying because it's someone's personal information that is intellectual property or copyright that is governed by each individual. Good. And then finally, I'll just talk about the risk and governance of artificial intelligence. Some of the things that we can think about or that we can do that can help us to manage and navigate this artificial intelligence aspect. I think the biggest one is data privacy and data protection. I think we need to put systems in place that can help protect our data, so that we know what information is being utilized in these platforms and what is not put in place. Because I don't think all of us knows what's confidential, what's private, and what's important, especially if you deal with clients and for internal spaces. And I think this year or the past year, there's been talk of cybersecurity. I think in a lot of spaces where people are just talking about cybersecurity, you need to do that. And I think there are laws that are coming into place. I remember when WhatsApp was even said that if you want to open a group, then you need to what? You need to do some form of registration so that you manage the data that you are dealing with. So those are some of the ways that people have decided to put in place to help manage the risk and govern artificial intelligence. In my closing remark, I just say that artificial intelligence will still need human beings to help create the algorithms, to put that human touch. Like she said, at some point you can tell that you're not talking to a person, you're talking to a robot because it has no emotional connection on the human perspective. So we'll always be required. But our role is to say, so how do we manage the risk? How do we create the platforms that helps create solutions for Africa at large so that we benefit at the end of the day? We cannot continue to inherit from the third world countries. It's upon us to take it, and then we can create solutions that can help us succeed. I think with that, thank you so much. Cheers.
The idea of artificial intelligence and innovation is going to be key to what we are trying to do, trying to engage with here, Simba. And let me recognize a good friend who's come all the way from Canada. Norman, I know you get very embarrassed when I do this, but, I enjoy embarrassing people, welcome, Norman. Welcome. My other bishop who shares a name with me, Trevor Ncube. Bishop, thank you so much for coming. My personal pastor, Pastor Matthew Wazara, is here. You'll have noticed that the theme of this year is human capital, innovation, and ethics. And we believe that human beings are central to this. And this might sound provocative, but and I hope I provoke you enough that we were created by God. And there's some people who are pretty comfortable that we were created by God There's a debate about that with some people, not with me. If human beings are not as clever as machines, there's no problem. Machines should take over, and then it means we were never meant to be the final race. The final race might be the human race, might be the machine race, which is going to self-destruct rather. Where do you sit with that, Simba? You are passionate about artificial intelligence. What role do human beings take in that space?
Right. Thank you, Trevor. I think the wave is already happening. Whether we like it or not, artificial intelligence is here.
Yeah.
But I will reiterate that it will still need human beings to govern, to shape, and to give the rules that the robots are going to follow, or the instructions that help us to come up with solutions. So human beings will still play a pivotal role based on the problems that they see on the ground and the solutions that they want. So we'll shape that.
Do you think we should be concerned, we should have a point where we say, let's stop this progress, is too fast for human beings, or let the machines go as fast as they want to do?
Unfortunately, we can't stop it at this stage.
It's too late.
It's too late.
The gene is out of...
yes, from my perspective, I think if you check in the past, change is happening at a faster pace than it has been in the past. So whether we are involved or not, artificial intelligence is evolving on its own. So at some point, we just need to get it right and make sure that our part...
Does it not worry you that this thing is got its own pace, it's got its own momentum? Does not worry you?
At some point, yes, and it just forces us to say, so how do we then as human beings stay ahead of the artificial intelligence, and what we need to put in place that can protect us from it getting out of hand.
Simba, you are at the cutting edge of clients trying to adopting artificial intelligence. You are the cutting edge of training C-suite managers. What challenges are they coming up with when it comes to artificial intelligence? One thing that I've noticed, for instance, is that a lot of companies globally are saying they're not yet seeing the impact of artificial intelligence to the bottom line. But there's the noise about artificial intelligence, even the 500, what are they called? Forbes 500 companies, none of them at the moment are reporting that we are seeing this direct impact of AI on our bottom line. What are your clients saying in terms of, one, the adoption challenge, and secondly, does it improve the way they work rather, apart from improving their emails?
Right. Thank you, Trevor. As human beings, sometimes we are stubborn and you don't want to accept the facts and the data because it affects the livelihood of the people that we are leading in our organization. Recently, I saw an article of Amazon saying they're letting go 30,000 people because they're now employing artificial intelligence to do their processes in a more efficient way and all those things.
Right.
The challenge we have here is people can see the benefit of that artificial intelligence, but they will not adopt it because they're thinking, so what will happen to all these people? It will affect a lot of people, and we try to then save them. And then in that regard, we know the benefits that we can get from the innovation and the artificial intelligence.
You touched on something which I think is very important, and that is in this market, most of us are guilty of. It will be interesting to hear what people what their experiences are. Is that a lot of us do not innovate for as long as we think that there's a law that stands in what we're trying to do. We'd rather go and tip the lawmakers that this is what you want to do. What law? There's no law that binds us as far as this is concerned. How do we go about it? What should be our attitude? Should we not go out and innovate and face the consequences?
Right. Thank you, Trevor. I think I'll take the second one that you mentioned, which is us taking it and focusing on the opportunity. I think when we are doing innovation, we say there are two types of world. There's the innovation world and there's operational world, which is the real world. So when you're innovating, you have to go into the innovation world where there's creativity, opportunities, connection making, because you're experimenting and testing everything. But if you use the mindset of the real world, nothing makes sense. Yes. From the onset, you can see that this is not going to happen. So you have to go and shift your mindset to go for the opportunities for creativity and experimentation, and then we can reap the rewards from that.
But we're law-abiding citizens. we want to make sure that before we start doing something, am I breaking a law, or there's no law that exists, and I might find myself in a problematic. Thank you for the table. I might find myself in a problematic area. What's the sense there?
So my advice is, come up with the solutions. Let risk makers, policy makers tackle it.
Yeah.
You give us the solutions. As long as you identify a challenge and the solution, run with it. If the law doesn't allow it, they'll come and tell you that, hey, my guy, this is not what? This is not allowed, and you need to change here and there. But I would still say, go with the solutions, go with the innovation, and then let policymakers, risk takers look at how feasible it is.
Interesting. Let's see what other people say. My own view would be that I think we are sort of slowed down by the apprehension, the fear that there isn't a law. What should I do? And my thing would be just go for it and do it. But I come across a lot of people that say, no, but we can't do it because one, there isn't a law. We can't do. Actually, is it not right sometimes to break the law because you are innovating? I'll tell you what. One person that I admire a lot is Elon Musk when it comes to this. If you look at how Elon Musk has innovated, is about he's fired some of his people who've said, we can't do it because the law says this. What Elon says is, show me the law. Okay? And then when you show him the law, he says, who drafted this law? And if they know the member of Congress who did it, they go to the member of Congress and say, why did you do this? And eventually changes around. But I think we have a tendency of wilting the moment we think that there's resistance. I don't know what people think. So that's the question. That's the kind of question I'm going to put out there. But let's see what people have to say. I know it's a bit late in the evening. You've been driving and so forth, but quite an interesting engagement there, Simba, that you threw for us. There's a hand at the back there.
Thank you, Trevor. My name is Ignatius. My contribution is more a reflection. I think when we look at innovation globally, when you look at Silicon Valley, they operate via an ecosystem model. So you find that there are people who are willing to risk even if the innovation doesn't work, right? And they create support structures, mentorship. We see Dragon's Den, and we see the culture of where innovation has some knowledge. In Africa, I don't know if the records are straight, but only 0.7% of registered trademarks globally come from Africa. So we don't even know what we have. Then we don't have an ecosystem to promote us, because I think the people who have and the people who don't have, there needs to be an ecosystem to balance that. Because I think it's more the ecosystem rather than the people who are afraid of innovation. I think we're still operating in silos. And maybe we can get comments on that to say, how can we move from saying, just come up with an idea when someone doesn't know how to run the business, doesn't have the support, doesn't have all of what the rest of the world is saying. They've got $2 trillion worth of cash sitting to say, where can we invest this money?
That's an important one. You want to engage with it, man, and maybe come to Simba later on?
Yes, I do. So I want to engage on it on two parts. The first one, answering to your question, and supporting what Simba is saying, to say, I think the law is made for the people, by the people. And so when you find us saying, what does the law say so that I can innovate to the next level, we are inhibiting ourselves from growth. We made the law. So if whatever we are doing is going to allow for us to grow, we should go back, to the law and tweak it to allow for the growth. As Simba was saying, that there are people who are there to manage the risks and not to stop us from propelling. And just to support what was said from an ecosystem perspective, I think that's one big area that needs to be, attended to allow for innovation to happen at a macro level more than a micro as it is currently happening. Because you will be shocked that there's so many trademark exercises that are happening, but which are not registered, which are happening behind the scenes, which are happening, indoors. It's funny that we say the European world is of a collective is of an individualistic nature. But I think Africa is more that, even coming down to Zimbabwe, we are becoming more individualistic than we are an ecosystem that supports for growth, for innovation, for, solutions that help the entire society. So I think, that's something that does require some navigation and some commenting on.
Okay, thank you. Simba, you want to come in there?
Good. Thank you. I will just double click to what both of you have said around the ecosystem. In my experience dealing with a lot of entities, they actually have a value of innovation. But when you come to the practicality of that, there's zero innovation, there's zero platform, zero ecosystem created to enable what? The innovation. But the main value that they are running with is innovation. So we don't have the platforms, we don't have the ecosystems that helps us to then help the innovation to come to life. You talked about Dragon's Den. That's where Trevor is going with this festival at some point, so that at the end of the day, the ideas are rewarded, so that people can continue to innovate and help us with better solutions, because there's someone who's willing to risk their money, their investment, and seeing value in the solution that can help Africa to benefit from that.
Anybody wants to take it from a different angle altogether, or Ed? There's a gentleman up front there.
All right. Good afternoon. Edford is my name.
I'm excited to see the young people that are in this room, hey? Whether they are the early comers or what, but pretty beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, so from my perspective, it also boils down to culture. Us as the young generation, what do we see as cool, right? You see NVIDIA, Jason Wang, he does a product launch, and you have 90,000 people show up, 90,000 people just there to listen about GPUs and graphics cards, right? Which means that in that world, in that part of the world, what is considered as cool as also the culture there, it actually enables such ecosystems to exist. Think of 90,000 people just gathered to hear about innovation, innovative ideas. Obviously, something's bound to come up. So it's about the culture. What do we say is cool here in Zimbabwe? Us as the young culture, as the young generation, what is cool, what is not? So that's about culture.
Let me throw it back to you. As a young person trying to define that ecosystem, help us understand what's cool.
We also want to know.
Yeah, we want to know what's cool, what's happening, what should we be looking out to? Because I think, some of us are sunset days. Your generation ought to be taking up the cattles, as it were, to take this country forward. What? I was going to come back to you about describing what that ecosystem looks like, because that's another thing that we need to do, isn't it? But what is cool? What should we be looking at?
So I was just also reading about Shanghai, right? Shenzhen in China.
Yeah.
Shenzhen, that is basically the technology capital of the world in terms of hardware and even some of the softwares that come out of there. Basically, almost everything that you see in this room comes from Shenzhen. And in Shenzhen, they have these fairs where instead of just, we have an agriculture show, we have so many fairs. But most of the fairs that you can name in Zimbabwe are music fairs, right? Instead of productive things. So those fairs are centered
and the Ideas Festival, eh?
Yes. Ideas Festival, right? Ideas Festival.
I had to throw that word in, eh?
Yes. So instead of these festivals to become centralized, it should then be decentralized. Allow people to come with their children, let people showcase their innovation, their technologies, whether it's the theater youths to all the corporate companies. Let them showcase what they're working on, the next generation of innovation, of technology. Let people get excited. With young kids, they should get excited to come to such fairs and festivals and celebrate technology. I think that's like the first of the basic step where you can get a 5-year-old child to look up to Trevor and say, no, we're going to Ideas Festival.
Yeah.
There is some technology there. I'm going to see some drones. I'm going to see some robots. It's cool. It's fun.
Wonderful. Let's go back to what I think is an important issue. That ecosystem. If you could just help us understand what those components of that ecosystem ought to look like. Mnengwa at the back there.
Thank you. I think when I reflect on what it needs to look at, you look at countries like Japan and Israel, and if people aren't familiar with the spider web concept, that's a picture of an ecosystem where, starting from our kids, so curriculum.
Yeah.
When you look at Israel, they incorporate their education, their faith, and their economy. They take a 30 to 50 year, maybe even 100-year position. And it starts our conversation here. We are more young adults, middle-aged, and people who are able to invest. But the challenge that I think the ecosystem needs is a total reformation to what we call intelligence. And then to align it with the needs that Zimbabwe and Africa needs. And then direct the ecosystems to address that. It's going to need O levels and A levels are going to mean nothing. Degrees, some of our degrees are irrelevant. And the sad thing is we're doing the same thing expecting a different result. And there are a lot of youth's lives right now with the fast-changing AI where education is going to work. So I think the ecosystem is going to have a lot of players, but it starts with the foundations. Are we going to have the courage to change our curriculum, which other nations are doing? Are we going to be able to have fathers and mothers who are investors in a nation, who then look at the gaps that we have as a country and stop outsourcing our opportunities? So we create solutions for ourselves. But it has to be intentional. It's right at government level. It's got to have a buy-in vision at that level to then allow a nation or a continent to grow.
Did you want to add on to what you just said in terms of the ecosystem? It's a big thing. It's a heavy lifting job that requires, I think, the inputs of everybody to describe what this thing looks like, to work towards building it. What's your sense as to are we getting there? Do we have a sense of what that ecosystem ought to look like? Or it's one of those words that we throw around, but without the intention to work on them?
Yeah, I think I'll tend to agree with him that it's a beautiful word that we like to use. Because if we want to be serious about, innovation and artificial intelligence, it has to start at the grassroots. We have to tweak our curriculum and say, are we ready to shift that mindset to say, this is the new technology that is playing. So what do we need to put in our curriculum that helps the younger generation so that as they grow up, they start learning these things rather than when it's too late for them. So I think that shift is what we are missing for us to create that platform, because it has to start at the grassroots so that people start learning about all these things at a lower level so that when they get into the world, they give us solutions that we want.
Absolutely. Does anybody have a different view altogether? Dr. Mbanje, I was going to come to you. We call her Dr. Mbanje because she's pushing for us to use Mbanje I'm teasing you. But I want us to go to the place of, you did a lot of heavy lifting around getting into a space where there was no legislation. If you're in a nutshell, what was that experience like to you? Because it might give some people in the room a couple of ideas of how to do things and how not to do things. In a nutshell, we'll give you more time during the process. She's done an amazing thing, but it will be interesting for you to share with us the challenges that you've experienced and how you've been able to navigate those in creating an ecosystem within the industry that you're in.
Sure. Thank you so much, Trevor. It's exactly what I was going to touch on. My contribution is definitely around policy, regulatory frameworks that do not exist. And I think we saw a quote just now from Winfield Group CEO. It's true that the innovative ideas that the young Africans have, the governments are never actually ready for them. And that for me started my journey. It's the challenge that I wanted to do something where the laws were totally as prohibitive as you can imagine. 10 years ago, you all know that Mbanje was not legal in this country, whether for medicinal purposes, whether for the industrial. It's still illegal for recreational.
I was about to ask.
Just to put it out there. But I just want to say to the young people who are here, I feel like maybe that fear that Trevor touched on, to say, we always get deflated once you have an idea, and then you're told, the laws are not there, and we move to South Africa, we're going to try. Don't do that. The government is made up of people. they are not as draconian as they seem. Sometimes all that resistance is really out of ignorance. But once you create your own opportunities to interface and engage respectfully and confidently, you will face resistance. But I've seen that most ideas that were new and there was always a champion. These things were always dealt with. We have a lot of stories in Zimbabwe. You were talking about these cyber issues. Many things changed because there was a champion, someone who kept reiterating the vision, kept educating government until they said, what are we even fighting? We know Strive's story. Mine is also typical, but it was not as scary as Strive's. But it took me 5 years, 6 years to finally get 4 pieces of legislation that allow everybody in this room to go and explore and now be innovative in a new agro-industrial space. But the legal and regulatory space was a whole different journey. So I just want to encourage people in the room who feel like they are in spaces where the regulatory framework is not supportive, because I've become a lobbyist, like what Trevor, I didn't even know what the word meant until people told me what you're doing is called lobbying. I'm like, oh, okay, let me look that up. And it became a passion. So I've learned how to convince this government to do things that they ordinarily would not like to do. And it's a skill, yes. You can also find people who've achieved such things, because I don't believe in the impossible. And I want to agree with Taida. The laws can definitely be tweaked because they are made for us, So that is my contribution, and I'm here till Friday. So for those.
So interestingly, there is no legislation. You believe it can be done if you approach the lawmakers respectfully. They're human beings like us. They might be ignorant. Has anybody else faced this? Is that realistic to say? Or do we get frightened and say it's them versus us, and I'm not going to go to that space lest they bite me because I don't know them? Yes, Dr. Wazara?
Thank you, Trevor. My name is Matthew Wazara. I'm a medical practitioner and a pastor, and I work both in the private sector and in the public sector. So maybe the statement that we always used to throw around, that it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. I think maybe the day has come, because if you're trying to introduce something that people don't understand, so you will recall that a technology to have doctors and nurses online, just on the phone, was tried, and the law said, and the authorities said, no, we can't, unless you can touch and feel the doctor, who's going to be liable if there is a complication. And so that was shelved until COVID came, and then all of a sudden, without law, they said, listen, I think it's okay to do this. So if we keep pushing, I really believe that it can happen, because you're educating people that haven't the experience.
Yeah, I think I support that. Let's keep pushing. You're going to break some laws. Martin Luther did say in a revolutionary way that there are some laws that are meant to be broken, but that's not why we are here. We are here to push innovation and not to be held back. I think her story is exactly that you're passionate about something, you think there is no ecosystem, you push as hard as you can, and sometimes you do make that break. Don't sit there. What we've come to know through this platform, and we're working on, by the way, is a heavy lifting piece of work around a startup ecosystem. Getting the point, can we have a piece of legislation like Rwanda has, like Nigeria has, that provides an ecosystem for startups, financing, regulatory framework, concessionary lending, and that kind of stuff, allowing people with capital to put their money and be protected in investments of that nature. We don't have it in this country, and us as the Ideas Festival are trying to see, working with experts to see how can we, in a respectful kind of way, move this heavy lifting space to a piece of work to a place where we actually get young people benefiting from this. I saw a couple of hands raised. Did you want to jump in onto any of those? How much time do we have, by the way? 5 minutes. It's always 5 minutes left. Right? There's a hand at the back there. Yeah. Please introduce yourself. There's two. Wilson, introduce yourself and.
Good afternoon. My name is Pride Kwe. I'm a research consultant at Winfield. So I think I go back to the issue of regulation. I think one of the key challenges is how do we regulate something that we don't understand? That's the first question. So because I recall last year when I attended the deep learning Indaba chapter for Zimbabwe, and I think one of the key things was actually there was supposed to be government in presence then to actually understand what was going on. So I think the approach for us Zimbabwe to take, because I'll give an example with regards to the US and Europe. I think with Europe, what they've done is they've come up with the AI policy. But what they've done is they've slowed down progress because you don't really hear much about any AI company in Europe. But if you go to the US, you hear the companies do like Meta, the Amazons, and the Nvidias. So I think the key challenge here is for us not to focus more on regulation. Key thing is on us to focus more on awareness. But the other thing is AI is like blockchain. This thing is actually running on open source, which means it's not closed, which means people can actually start developing on their own. So I think the key thing is for the government to say maybe data strategy is the key thing, AI strategy. Then, from there, they actually see as things go on to say, okay, these are the issues that we're facing so that they don't slow down progress. That's my submission.
Thank you. Nick, before I go on to Wilson, Nick Fikirai.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. Don't you think our problem is not really an AI problem? If we can't fix potholes, if we can't really get anything else going, and we are worrying about AI, do we even understand what we are worrying about? It's just a question.
That sounds like an elephant in the room, Nick. Do you want us to go there so early? Do you want to deal with it? No? Okay. Anybody that wants to respond to Nick? Nick says we're dealing with it. We're trying to handle AI when we can't fix potholes. Our priority is right. There's a young man up front there who wants to tackle the question.
Thank you. My name is Nyaradzi, the founder of ProCode Platforms. I think we need to have the conversation because already in Zimbabwe we have some innovators, some founders who are already working on artificial intelligence. And to say we don't have to talk about, we don't have to have the conversation just because we need to talk about the potholes. I think that's not the correct approach. In as much as we have to discuss about the potholes, we also have to be cognizant that we have innovators that are working in that space.
Okay, you had your hand up to respond to Nick.
Yeah, I think it's just to double click on what Munya was saying to say.
This must be a new thing. Double clicking.
Double clicking. Oh, we double click at our workplace.
All right, double click.
We double click at our workplace.
Okay.
Yeah. In the same way that potholes are there, so is AI. We have control over AI. We have control of, how we can use it to our advantage. But potholes, I don't know the extent to which we have control to solve that or to address that at this moment. But AI, definitely, we can use it to our advantage. We can, work on the things that Simba was talking about to say, how can we make it work for our businesses, for this time, for our problems, and to focus on the positivity that it brings. So yeah, I think it's something that we should be discussing even in the present court halls.
Right.
Yeah, this.
Yes, good doctor.
I think I can relate to Nick because as a young person who's been navigating this environment, not necessarily the political environment alone, but even the economic environment, I believe I would have been far right now with my projects if some of these issues, he might have just said portals, but I think we all understand what he said. And as much as we are so hopeful that, AI is going to change this and we are innovators and we know our ideas can change this country, you will still hit the ceiling because no matter how brilliant your idea is and that AI is working for everyone else in the world, you will find that in Zimbabwe, with all that AI, we will still find ourselves stuck. Because there are issues that we need to address. You cannot thrive in an environment that suffocates you. So I think what Nick is saying is, as young people, we also need to think about our current environment as much as we are innovative. Because your innovation might end up useless because this environment can suffocate you. Yeah, the portal, you can hit on it and then, you are going to an AI meeting and you might not find yourself. But I mean, you understand it.
Thanks, Zorazai. I think you summed up